Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. I've never met anybody quite like her. She's a professional stager. I didn't even know that name existed. That's the name I give her. She's got a company that helps people stage their homes, their locations for resale. She's also got a retail store. And of course, in doing all of that, and at one time she's staging 50-something homes. She's also somebody who's well-versed in interior design. We're going to focus on that today with Marty Wilkinson, who joins us. Stage Your Life. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
Good. We've never looked at the interior design side of you. We focused on the staging side. Very intriguing. Your whole lifestyle connected with that. Check the last podcast. But the design side, I'm looking at things that we can take from that and enhance where we live. Why don't we start in the living room? Spend a lot of time there, right?
Yeah, we do. Definitely. Living room, family rooms. Absolutely. So what would you like to know?
How about we start with color? Many say that, most important thing, whether it be the walls, whether it be the furnishings, your initial thoughts when somebody's looking to change up what they got.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, actually, I have a consultation with the clients. Obviously, I need to listen to what they are wanting to do with their home and with their specific rooms. When I have a blank palette, which is sometimes nice, there's a combination. A lot of times people are moving here and they've got things that they have from other homes that they're trying to incorporate. And then we're kind of adding to kind of finish the look. If I have a blank slate, there's a lot of new homes here. Then I get to kind of start from scratch, which I always love to do because you can get a really wonderful look when you start from scratch. And I usually always start with rugs. And a lot of people question that because they're thinking, well, I should get my furniture first and then get the rugs to go with the furniture. And really, it's opposite because it's much harder to find furniture or find a rug, let's say, that goes with furniture versus finding a rug first and then being able to work the furniture with that rug. I have custom sources for all sorts of furniture, so we can pick our own fabric for sofas and chairs and things like that. So if we've got a rug, that develops a palette, and then we can pull up the color palette from the rug. So that seems to work the best. And, usually rugs have a lot of pattern too. I guess it depends. They don't have to, but a lot of times they do, especially here in Santa Fe. You've got a lot of colorful kind of Navajo rugs sometimes, or colorful patterned rugs with a lot of different colors in them. So we can usually pull colors from the rugs and use them in pillows, accessories, that sort of thing on sofas and chairs and that.
Wow. Why don't we talk about color? What's in now? What is trending now? Is it warm colors, cool colors?
There's been a lot of gray and white lately, kind of like those neutral, more contemporary tones. And there's a lot of new building, like I said, in Santa Fe where they're doing a lot of that. So I personally like warmer tones, like reds, oranges, terracottas, browns, like earthy tones. And you can definitely mix those types of colors with that kind of neutral gray palette. Again, in Santa Fe, if you have an existing home, you're more likely to have maybe brick floors and Viga ceilings, which are brown woods and that sort of thing, probably a lot of wood in the home. And so definitely those warmer tones work well with the traditional people think of as a Santa Fe look. But a lot of the new homes now are being built very kind of with minimal color at all. But that provides, I think it provides a perfect, envelope, if you will, to add the color that people like.
Yeah, even just a splash of color, whether it's coming from a pillow, a wall. How about when you mix patterns? Probably not for the faint of heart, but how do you know where it's going to work and what's not going to work? Or do we overthink this stuff?
I think a lot of people do overthink it, and I always tell people to, look at it in 3D. Like for instance, a lot of times what I'll do is we'll order certain pieces, like the main pieces, sofas, chairs, coffee tables, that sort of thing. And then I have so many pillows in my warehouse and showroom. I will bring over, 25 or 30 different pillows, and we'll just throw them on the sofa and look at them and see which ones are working together and which ones we like. There's a lot of great pillows, and mixing patterns and pillows, I think, works really well. I tend to use neutral tones on the main pieces because then it's very versatile. And pillows are kind of like jewelry. You can change them seasonally or whatever. So it gives you an opportunity to switch up your look a little bit more if you've got,
What about somebody has a fireplace in their living room? It's the red brick. Would you paint that white?
It all depends. A lot of times here in Santa Fe, they have what's called Kiva fireplaces. If you've ever seen those, they're those kind of ones that are in a corner, and they're sort of rounded at the front, and they have sort of a rounded opening for the wood. And then they usually have like a tall portion of the top that'll go maybe even to the ceiling, and they have a very distinctive look. And a lot of times they're not made out of brick per se. They're plastered like the rest of the walls. And so we do sort of maybe an accent color on those Kiva fireplaces. Like you have an accent red wall there in your studio. And so for instance, if we're dealing with a specific color palette in the house, we'll pull, and again, if we have a rug, we will pull that color up onto that Kiva fireplace, and it'll create a really neat look there.
Yeah. Thank you for picking up on my wall. It's actually, and I know the lighting makes it look like a different color. It's actually orange, and then and the wall is gray. And I just like the way the two of them look together. But the orange, I tried 4 different paints, and that one it's called koi, like the fish. Because I didn't want it to be too much, but I didn't want it to be too subdued. So finding the right color is, I find, a challenge. It
is. Yeah. And I do color consultation with people. So basically, I will bring out a paint deck, let's say, and we will, look at different variations of the colors that the client's liking, have them test it on the walls. If they're painting, again, there's a lot of plaster here in town as well, and they do tinted plasters here. So you can get an orange plaster if you wanted, which is really kind of cool. But we would pick from a paint deck, different colors, and test them out first, because paint will change dramatically depending on light in a room. So you definitely want to look at it first.
In your room there, back of you, you have a darker blue. And it just feels good. It's almost like the room is giving you a hug.
Yeah, it's actually a very warm color. My whole studio, when we moved in, I painted lots of different walls. In fact, we have like a fuchsia and a black wall in one of the rooms. And fuchsia is kind of a very intense sort of dark pink, if you will. But it's really a pretty background against, wood and accessories and things like that. So, yeah.
What about painting the ceiling? I hear that's a thing now, and especially like a navy, really making it dark.
Yeah, or like you can paint an entire room one dark color, and it does. It kind of feels like a cocoon, if you will. Like you said, it's like a hug.
Yeah,
so.
I think a lot of us are afraid to be a little adventurous. Just go And what do you got to lose with paint? Just paint it over again.
Well,
Minimal expense.
paint is a really easy fix. So yeah, and if you can live with it for a while and then try something new. And that's again, I think a lot of times why people hire a designer is because I always kid people. I'm like, don't beige out on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be afraid of color, and let's try some accent walls. Let's try some different colors, and I think it gives people the confidence to know that a professional is kind of guiding them to try something new that they wouldn't have normally tried by themselves. So that's one advantage.
Would you suggest that you do the room first and then worry about the color on the walls last? And the reason I'm thinking this is that you have so many color choices for the wall. It's easier to match that than it is finding a couch to match the walls and all of that, unless you're just going to go with gray or beige.
You can. You definitely can. I mean, again, the rug might dictate that in a number of ways. So if we have a rug and we've got the main pieces, like I said, then yes, let's pull color from there and create the room around what we've got inside.
Well, that's that. I think those are isolated cases. Like, for example, you inherited a rug. You love the rug, means something to you. That's fixed. Now you have to work around that. But I'm just thinking that if you're kind of starting fresh, leave the walls last. We'll find a color to match it. Worst case scenario could go gray, or beige out. But yeah, and I totally agree with you there when it comes to the just the white walls. Oh, horrible. Just why? Yeah,
I know why. There's a lot of in Santa Fe, particularly, again, since I'm here, there was this plaster that people used a lot, and it had a real kind of pinky tone to it, and it was it acted as a neutral, but it was still it looks good on people's flesh tones, believe it or not. So it had a nice resonation with and it looks great with like brick and wood and things like that. So it's a really nice color. It was called Structolite, I think. And you can't actually get it anymore. It came up from Mexico. Wow. And you can't really get that color anymore. So people are sometimes in bad shape if they've got it and you have to patch it. It's a little tricky. So
how about the minimalistic you mentioned? Seems like it's a little bit of a thing now. It was, and it seems like it's continuing. Are you feeling that?
It is in a sense, again, in some of these new builds. But I'm actually also seeing kind of I call it maximalist. It's kind of the opposite of minimalist, where people are mixing pattern upon pattern and color with color and very intense colors. I'm seeing it a lot when we go to market and the way that things are being shown at market. And you've got like layers of art on the walls, and it's an interesting look. And you definitely you should use a designer to help you pull that off, because it's not easy to pull off.
What's your personal favorite? Now, you'll do anything for anybody based on what they're describing, but what would you describe your thing?
Somebody asked me that the other day, and since I haven't had a personal home in so long, and I've lived, as I mentioned in the last podcast, I live in homes that are staged. I get to change my look on a very regular basis. But if I had my druthers and I were to purchase a home, I probably would purchase something pretty ultra modern, contemporary, and do things very minimalist in that sense. And I like a lot of white and cream and like tone on tone. So you can mix like patterns and textures of the same color, but it just looks really nice again in 3 dimensions. So I probably would lean towards that if I ever have to.
Wow.
Even though I probably won't, but
Well, when you're living in staged homes, do you get to you're changing them, but it's based on what somebody's suggesting, or they just give you a green light? Hey, just make it look good. I got to sell this place.
they pretty much give us a green light most of the time.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, again, most of the owners are out of state. They've left. They've moved out of the house for whatever reason and have left it empty for us to stage. And very rarely do we get someone who really has a particular, need to have it look a certain way. We always stage for the house. So, because that's what's going to attract the person who, likes the home. The home has a particular architecture, so we're going to stage for that architecture and make it look like the staging makes sense for
Sure.
the type of house that it is.
Yeah,
So-
you're not going to do something crazy, outlandish that wouldn't support where you are. Like, now in New Mexico, there's a certain look, and a lot of the houses have the same. Let me add Victorian to it's not going to work. It seems like you're very particular.
Yeah, I mean, in the older part of town, believe it or not, there's some Victorian architecture down there on the east side of town, and so if I were to get one of those houses to stage, we do have some. I actually have some Victorian furniture from my mother that I reupholstered.
Wow.
Kind of brought it up to date, but it still has that typical curvy Victorian wood furniture look. And I would smatter that in probably in a house of that style here.
Now, is that stuff sitting in storage?
Yeah, in my warehouse.
Wow. So it sounds like have you gotten a chance to use that furniture yet?
We have. I actually have one piece that I reupholstered in some old Navajo rugs. So it kind of gives it a Southwest flavor, but it has that style. And we've used that quite often, actually, both for staging and for events. So
I envy you in that you have the opportunity to do what you feel is best. Clients trust you. I mean, interior designer is fantastic in itself. You're working with what they suggest and, hey, this is my goal. This is what I want to feel when I walk in. But on the flip side of that, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you feel works in that space. It's got to be very liberating and just free.
it is. Yeah, no, and especially from a design standpoint, because yes, it's a definite change from working with a particular client and having to listen to what they are wanting and giving them things that will appeal to them.
Sure.
But yeah, when you have carte blanche with a staging job, it's very fun. I mean, we walk the warehouse in the morning, like on a staging day. We use Post-its. It's really funny. And we'll go into the warehouse and we'll just Post-it everything that we're going to take to that house. And we can do that in like an hour. And then the guys load it up on their big truck and they take it out there, and we know, basically what rooms everything is going into. And we just set it up in a day, and it totally transforms the house. Yeah.
It's like going shopping. Yeah, I'll take one of those. I'm going to grab that. Hey, with that lamp. All right, that would look fantastic. And
I know. We do. We shop our warehouse.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the shortest stage you've done? What's the longest one you've done?
You mean as far as how long it takes to stage a house?
How long? Because you're staging for sale.
Oh, right.
Of the properties. So,
right.
Have you had a situation where you came in and staged and sold this afternoon after all the work? And then what's the longest so far?
Ooh, yeah, well, we've had both. We were staging a house once, and there was a showing while we were finishing staging. Like I guess the realtor really wanted to show the house, and they knew that it was being staged and we hadn't finished yet. But the clients, yes, they put in an offer that afternoon, and so we probably moved it out 2 weeks later. So that was, very short. And we've had houses. I actually lived in a home once for about 4 years.
Wow.
And it was like a very tricky house, and it had some really different things about it. So it really took a particular buyer to want to purchase that house. So we were there for 4 years, and it took that long.
Wow.
And then the owners, the future people that bought it became my clients for interior design, and I helped them design the house because, it was so unique. So,
do you feel there's a psychological thing going on there when you redesign the interior of a home, goals you're trying to reach in terms of somebody feeling a certain way?
Well, yeah, it's psychological, and it's somewhat I call it intangible, because you can't quite put a finger on it, but like you said, it makes you feel a certain way. Whether it makes you feel like happy or comfortable or calm, or there's a variety of feelings that an interior can invoke. So I definitely ask my clients when I meet with them for the first time, how do you want to feel in your house? And have them try to describe that so that I can give them, an interior that feels like that.
It's amazing how things feel. I walk into my living room. I moved up about a year and change ago, and I'm still figuring it all out. My living room, it's all right. I found a new appreciation for my bedroom. I just like the vibe. It feels like, tropical. It's very open and bright, and it's just the feeling. To me, it feels good. I wish I could duplicate that in the rest of the house.
Well, have me come out to New York, and I...
You know what? I'm in between homes. It's not the best time to buy right now, so I'm waiting. So when that happens, I'll call you, because I will make this statement very clear. I usually never say never, will never try and do it myself again. And that goes for the backyard reno. That goes for everything inside. I just won't do it again. It was stress, anxiety, and logistics. In the backyard, I did a renovation. Some of the work myself. It gave me an ulcer.
Oh, no.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Working, getting up early, jobs, kids, and that backyard, it was a legit ulcer. Never do it again. Never do it.
I know. Home renovation can be very stressful.
Yeah, well,
in a lot of ways.
All of it. It's why get stressed. What's the best way to find you, Marty?
We have a website. It's stageyourlife.net, and it describes all of our projects that we do and a bit about our retail store, design information, all of that, and our phone number. Yep.
Amazing. Wonderful talking with you. Love the insight, and appreciate you being here, and we'll catch up next time.
Thanks, Steve. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.